Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the Z-23, the Tier 8 German destroyer. This is a ship that is, well, one of the better destroyers at Tier 8. It is second for win rate, third for average damage, and second for average experience earned. So it is certainly a very powerful ship, and I want to take a little bit closer of a look at this thing so I can tell you guys how to get the most out of this very good German destroyer. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the survivability, and it has the most hit points of any Tier 8 destroyer at 19,500. Now, of course, this is before you factor in the Captain's Perk Survivability Expert that gives you an extra 350 hit points per tier. So you multiply that by 8, and you're going to be able to get just over 22,000 hit points in this thing, which is certainly a very hefty amount. Now, armor-wise, of course, it's not very good, but it is a destroyer at the end of the day. Now, we're going to take a look here at the artillery, and this is the meaty portion of the ship's statistics. It has 150mm guns. You get 3 of them on the rear portion of the ship, and then you get a turret with 2 guns at the front. So you get 5 of these guns. They have a reload of 6.7 seconds. The fire chance is 12% stock, which is pretty good, and these shells do a lot of damage with armor piercing as well. 3,700, very, very German in its alpha strike. 835 meters a second coming out of the barrel, so it's decent for shell speed, and it also has a range of only 10.8 kilometers, but it is pretty good. Now, you can use 128mm guns, however, you only get 4 of them, and those are the LC-34s, not the 41s that you get on the tiers 9 and 10, so they are very poor performing 128s, and I highly suggest not doing so. The torpedoes on the ship are also pretty decent. You get 2 quad launchers for a total of 8 torpedoes, 533mm, and they're mounted along the center line. They have a range of 9.5 kilometers, fully upgraded, and a speed of 66 knots. Now, the alpha damage is only 14,400 on a full roll, so you're not going to be absolutely obliterating a battleship in a full salvo, a full broadside of these torpedoes, but they have good range and they have good speed, so you're going to be able to get consistent results with these things. And of course, if you use torpedo armament expertise, you're going to be able to get that reload down to 81 seconds, so it's pretty good. When it comes to the AA, well, the description of the ship is a little bit strange. A lot of the German destroyers, quite frankly, say that they have good AA performance. However, you cannot get defensive fire, and that's basically the key with destroyers. Like on the Soviet and the American ones, if you get defensive AA, you're going to be golden. This AA is nothing special to write home about. The maneuverability as well, only 37 knots for top speed, 680 meters turning radius, and a rudder shift of 4.5 seconds. This is, of course, before you fit any equipment to it. So it's very, very poor in the maneuverability aspect, and it is rather slow. So getting some of those flags that increase your speed is certainly something that I highly recommend. Now, the concealment, this is also a bit of a lie, 6.9. I don't have the captain's skill on. As you can see, he does not have a single point. I sold the ship on my regular account, but you can get that down to 6.1 if you double dip with both concealment on your equipment and your captain. And that's really important because coming from the Tier 7 Liberect Mosh, you get that down by almost 800 meters for your detectability range, and it's very, very important. Speaking of upgrades, however, we're going to take a look at what I prefer and recommend. Main battery armaments 1, because it's all about these 150mm guns and your torpedoes, of course. Now, the second one, if you have the upgraded hydroacoustic that makes it last for a little bit longer, I highly suggest to use that instead of aiming systems mod 1. But if you do not have that, again, this is to get as much leverage out of your guns as possible. So I highly recommend using the hydroacoustic if you have it, if not aiming systems. Propulsion mod 1, obviously getting your engine knocked out is very, very annoying, and if you have last stand as a captain's perk, you don't have to worry about your rudder ever becoming completely unresponsive. I also suggest propulsion modification 2. You could go with the steering gears, which would help it out a lot, but I like to maneuver around in the smoke, and you're going to see the combination of smoke and hydro to be very, very effective in a little bit. And then, of course, for the 5th one, concealment system modification 1 is certainly the way to go, because this can get down to near Benson and Japanese destroyer levels of concealment, and it's very nice to be able to push into caps and have that very good concealment. However, steering gears modification 3, if you're of that type, is also certainly a choice as well. Now we're going to take a look here at the consumables. Obviously, the smoke generator is very German. It's very poor. It only lasts for 69 seconds. Nonetheless, you still want to be able to get as many as you can. Engine boost 2, Obviously, it's only 8% speed increase, so you're going to get near 40 knots, but it's the hydroacoustic which is the thing for this ship. Torpedo detection range of 3.1 kilometers and a ship acquisition of 4.44. And again, I'm going to show you a few clips coming up here about how you can get the most out of this hydro. It was nerfed right before the German destroyers dropped a couple months ago. However, I do highly recommend running it. Now we're going to take a look here at the captain skills, and this is also very important. Obviously, preventive maintenance, get your modules a little bit more beefy. Last stand for the second skill. Obviously, a no-brainer for any destroyer, really, because you're still going to be able to maneuver around, even if you take some massive damage. Survivability expert, this is the one that I speak of that is also highly recommended. Get your best in-tier hit points up even further. And then, of course, for the fourth skill, concealment expert, if you want to make this thing as stealthy as possible, always a good idea. Now, once you get those 4 base skills, then we're going to take a look at what are some of the other skills that you should go with. Superintendent, get an extra hydro, get an extra speed boost, and of course get an extra smoke, very important. You could also go with something like demolition expert to get that fire chance up to 14%, and then you can throw the flags on and get it up to 15, which is always good. And then of course torpedo armament expertise, which I mentioned earlier, get that reload time down a little bit, and it's actually a really good skill to have for the tiers 9 and 10, because when you combine that with the equipment that becomes available, you're going to be able to get a very healthy reload on the torpedoes. So overall, Z-23, a very strong ship, statistically, both in the performance by the player base and also just on paper. So now before we get into the gameplay, I want to show you guys a few examples of how to get the most out of the hydroacoustic. Alrighty guys, I'm going to give you 3 short clips here on how to be able to utilize your hydroacoustic. As mentioned earlier, 3.1 kilometer detection on the torpedoes and 4.4 detection of ships, whether they're in smoke or not. And it's very, very effective, and it makes the higher tier German destroyers extremely good at contesting caps. Now you can see here, I am moving in on this enemy Benson, and he's smoked up, and this is my time to go in for the kill. So we're going to skip ahead here about 20 seconds, and you can see that I am now in the cap and I am contesting. However, I've moved as close as I can to this smoke screen, and there we go. As I pop my hydroacoustic, he made his way back around, and at this point I am now just getting detected. I'm able to surprise him with almost 3,000 damage, and now as I pop my smoke screen, what's going to happen here is that I'm going to keep going in and out of detection as I continue to move forward ever so slowly. But at this point, the Benson has already taken about half of his hit points away by my doing. He also launches his torpedoes just to the left of the rock, but of course I have no chance of getting hit by those, and now I'm just going to sit here in my smoke screen, and he's still 3.5 kilometers away. He's still getting detected, so it's not just me at this point that's continuing to shoot at that guy. I also got my friendlies behind me that are going to work on this guy, and he's still within the range of the hydroacoustic. 4.1 kilometers, there we go. He's now down to 1,600 hit points, but because he's shot, now that he's out of detection range of the hydro, he's still on the map because he shot his guns. And he's also on fire, and I'm going to shoot my next broadside and be able to take care of that Tier 8 American destroyer. Alrighty, now we're going to take a look at the second clip of the hydroacoustic usage. I am playing on the map Tears of the Desert, and I am located by radio position finding. There are 2 enemy destroyers on the other side, and one of them is a Fletcher, and at this point disaster strikes. I get detected, however I am moving forward, and he is moving towards myself, and he gets spotted at 5.5 kilometers, so he is immediately going to use his smoke, and I do as well. Now unfortunately he doesn't glide just far enough forward to be able to get within my hydroacoustic range. 4.5 kilometers, obviously mine's 4.4. So at this point, I launched 2 widespreads of torpedoes into the smoke, and then I also realized that I have support behind me in the form of 2 cruisers, and I also got a battleship, so I figure I'm going to go try and hunt this guy down. And if we're going to be able to get this kill right here at the beginning of the game, that would be absolutely massive for our team. So you can see here I'm now using this in a very aggressive stance. I continue to move in. The Fletcher's going to get spotted any second now. There we go. There he appears. And now as I shoot, I'm actually not detected because there is no support close enough for this guy to be able to help him out. And now my buddies in the cruiser behind me are going to be popping their radar. I don't recall which cruiser it is, but he also has radar as well. Regardless, though, I am still within hydroacoustic range of the Fletcher, so he is taking massive amounts of damage, and right as I go undetected and he goes out of my hydroacoustic range, it doesn't matter. I spotted the destroyer for my team, and now somebody behind me is getting the radar out, and we're going to be able to take care of this kill right here as the Miyoko slams home that Fletcher, and we get rid of a Tier 9 American destroyer. But it's not just American gunboats that you can easily contest the caps against if you use your smoke and hydro in combination. You can also even get the jump on some of the Japanese destroyers, the sneakiest bunch in the entire game. You can see that there is something on the B cap right here, and the whole host of the enemy fleet is moving into position, and all of those ships would certainly take a pot shot at me if I were to get detected. So I'm going, as I do indeed get detected, pop my hydroacoustic, and I'm waiting to see what gets detected in here. And you can see that Yugumo got a little bit too close for comfort. He did get detected at 6.1 kilometers, so he doesn't have the full concealment build going, but I think at this point he is not really paying attention here, and he's continuing to move deeper and deeper into the cap. And why is this a good thing? Because when he starts to slow down and smoke up, right here he goes to 4.4 kilometers away, and he is still detected. So now I'm going to launch my torpedoes. He's still stopped there. The margin is only maybe a 10 or 20 meters that he's close enough to me for my hydro to continue to work, but I am indeed getting every bit out of this, and I'm able to take care of that Tier 9 Japanese destroyer, and I'm also capturing the base. Alrighty guys, we're now going to move right here into the gameplay, and I am playing by myself some standard battle on the map Land of Fire. So, all of those clips that you've seen with the hydroacoustic, well, at least in the Fletcher and the Yugumo's case, there's literally nothing that they would have been able to do to get out of those situations, and the hydro really does give you a whole lot of options when attacking the cap. You can be very aggressive with it in spotting, like the Fletcher that I did, or if enemy ships stray a little bit too close and they don't respect you enough, then you're going to be able to do like what I did to the Yugumo, and he's going to stray into your hydroacoustic range, and yeah, there's nothing that they're going to be able to do, as long as, of course, the one caveat is that you have players in support of you, preferably cruisers. Now, of course, since I'm playing by myself in this game, I'm going to have to be very proactive in communicating with my team, and you're also going to see yet another example of hydroacoustic use here at the beginning of this game, but then, of course, there's also going to be plenty other examples of the torpedoes and the gun performance and whatnot. So here at the beginning of the game, this is standard battle, of course. I still like to go over towards where Charlie would be. If we were playing domination, there's a whole lot of islands that you can use over here to conceal yourself and cover yourself as well, and be able to get in really close. However, of course, destroyers have smokescreen, and that is the best way to conceal yourself. So I'm going to move over here where the cap would be, and I'm going to get my smoke up, and I'm going to see what I'm going to be able to do. Now, as mentioned before, this ship is rather slow, so it is going to take me a little bit of time to get over there. I'm only doing 35.5 knots, and I'm still very slowly picking up speed. Now, I do have a friendly Akatsuki over in Delta 6 that's going to be moving over here as well. And there's also a couple cruisers that will be coming down in support. However, the enemy team is going to make a very bold play, and they're going to push right into the middle part of the map, right near where Objective Bravo would be. And then they're going to make a very, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but they're going to make a very interesting play. And it's going to feed into my hands, and once again, we'll show you just how effective the hydro can be on this ship. Now you can see that the enemy Akatsuki and Shiratsuyu both get detected by the friendly fighter planes. We do have a Saipan on the squad, and then the Z-23 appears as well. So I'm now going to try and set myself up here for an ambush. The leading edge of that trio of destroyers are only 8 kilometers away, and just a couple of grid squares. So now I'm going to set myself up here for a nice ambush. You can see that the fighter planes are kind of forcing these guys here down into this channel. So I launch my torpedoes, and now I start shooting my guns at these guys. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn in slightly, and I'm going to get my smoke up here any second now, and I'm going to continue to shoot at all these destroyers, and you can see that I also have that cruiser that's behind me in support. He's also shooting at them as well. Get some very good hits there with the AP. My torpedoes continue to go in, and it's at this point I'm now getting ready to pop my hydroacoustic, because these destroyers are getting rather close, continuing to shoot at the Akatsuki, and there we go. The hydro is up. However, I am going to be able to land one torpedo right there on the bow of that enemy Z-23, and it's at this point that the Akatsuki is now within my hydroacoustic range. So this is very, very good. And those other destroyers are also continuing to push in, as one of them, the Z-23, gets taken out by the Akatsuki's, friendly Akatsuki's torpedoes. And then just as I'm able to get the kill on the other Akatsuki, now the Shiratsuyu is also within my hydroacoustic range. And there is absolutely nothing that this guy is going to be able to do. He can blind fire, shoot his torpedoes in here, of course, but since I got the hydro up, there's really no chance of me taking any damage from this guy. And now he's on 995 hit points, and I'm able to pick up my second destroyer kill of the game, already up to 24,000 points of damage, and I was able to do very solid work on all three of those enemy destroyers, and as you can see by chat, that was quite amusing. All of those destroyers getting whacked right at the beginning of the game. It's already 460 to 235. This is pretty much a guaranteed victory, but now we're going to see what I'm going to be able to make use of on this ship for the rest of the game. You can see there on the scoreboard that certainly was a very bold move, but it foundered very, very quickly, no pun intended at all. So now I'm going to move forward, and since we don't have to worry about their destroyer screen, I'm now going to try and see what I'm going to be able to do against the enemy ships that are also pushing over here as well. There's a whole glutton of battleships and a couple cruisers, including that Leander that's going to be sitting in the smoke screen. Now, we're going to get a good look here at the torpedoes. One thing that I had a little trouble with the Moss was that I always found that my torpedoes were dying just a little bit before they would reach their intended target. The stock torpedoes on this ship go 65 knots and have a range of 8.5 kilometers. So with the upgraded torps, you get an extra kilometer and 1 extra knot of speed. And why is this important? Well, trust me, 9.5 compared to 8.5 is humongous. Ships that are coming at you that are 11 or even 10.5 kilometers away, you're going to be able to drop those torpedoes that far away, and by the time that they reach the enemy ship, they will be, they're closing the distance, so the torpedoes don't have to travel as far. And it's something that, at least in my experience, having 9.5 is so much better. And there we go. All 3 torpedoes slam home into the Leander. Devastating strike. I get my 3rd kill of the game already. I'm up to 46,000 points of damage, and now I'm in a position where I'm able to shoot over the island, taking advantage of cover without getting detected, and I also let that enemy Bismarck on fire. So even with stealth firing being gone, you can still take advantage of cover to be able to shoot over. These certainly are not Soviet destroyers. You're going to be able to lob shells over. It's very good stuff. Now, another thing that should be mentioned, I know I talked about it a little bit in the port, the armor-piercing shells against the top part of battleships is actually extremely deadly. You're able to get some seriously high rolls with the guns. The last 2 salvos on the Colorado were 19 and 1,500 apiece. Now I switch my focus back to the Bismarck. He has 2 fires burning, one of them mine and one of them somebody else's, and I back up a little bit too far and do get detected, probably from that New Orleans that's on the right over there, but all I gotta do is just move forward a little bit, or stay where I'm at, I guess. Fine. Continuing to get more shells. There we go. Now I start to finally move forward. I do take a couple of secondary hits from the Bismarck, but I still have 20,000 hit points, so it's not really that big of a deal. The New Orleans doesn't appear that he's shooting at me either way, so I really have nothing too much to worry about. So I'm up to 64,000 points of damage with the torpedoes, and then of course the fire that burned on that guy. And now that he's used his damage control, I figured that it's time to try and get my torpedoes away. Again, 81 seconds with torpedo armament expertise is the reload on these things. So you do kind of get used to how fast the torpedoes come back, and it's really nice to be able to go down from 90 seconds, which you have on the Moss. Again, you could put torpedo armament expertise on that thing, but because it doesn't have 150mm guns, trying to make use and get as much usage out of the guns is, in my opinion, a little bit better play, because the Moss plays more like a typical destroyer, whereas this thing is very specialized in its roles and what it's able to do. Now, these ships are moving away. The Nuremberg is at 7.5, and the Bismarck is at 7.9 kilometers. So these torpedoes may or may not get there. If they do turn to their starboard side, those torpedoes are not going to hit. So it just depends on the maneuvering that they're going to do here. I did hit that Bismarck for about 2,000 in the side with the armor piercing, and you can see that you're actually able to get consistent damage out of these 150mm guns, and that's something that the lower tier German destroyers could not say whatsoever. Those 128 L-34s are very, very puny, and that's putting it nicely, to be honest with you. Now, I do have my hydroacoustic up just in case that Nuremberg dropped torpedoes, but obviously they only have 6 kilometers, so I guess this was really kind of a waste of the hydro, but it doesn't really matter. Whatever, no big deal. And now, both of those ships decided to turn back to the left, so I get 1 torpedo on the bow as I pick up the Confederate on that Nuremberg, and then 2 more torpedoes are going to slam into the Bismarck right underneath both of the turrets for 20,000 damage. Even the Bismarck, which doesn't have the greatest torpedo belts, only 20k damage, but he is now flooding because he used his damage gun not too long ago, and I'm up to 107,000 points of damage already, so this is a fantastic game that I'm having, and he continues to flood, so that's very good stuff. And you can see that the torpedoes, about 10 seconds after they hit the targets, are only 5 seconds away from reloading. So again, beating a dead horse here, but it's something that you should know about. These torpedoes are very, very good in the reload department. Now, why did I decide to start shooting at this guy? Well, I want to get a fire on him, and like I said, this thing has a 12% base fire chance, get demo expert, and the flags you can get up to 15%, which is very, very good for a destroyer. But I'm also utilizing the hit points that I have. I'm so eager to get a fire on this guy that I'm okay losing quite a few hit points because I have so many to give up. And as long as that Nuremberg doesn't start laying in some really good salvos on me, I'm going to be A-okay. So that's why I'm continuing to let the fire burn. There's no reason right now for me to put it out, and I'm just going to continue to sail away, make it a lot more difficult for those secondaries to hit me. Take about 2,000, 2,500 damage from his main guns from the Bismarck, but most of them have been over penetrations. And now it's at this point where I've lost just over half of my hit points that I decide, okay, I think I'm going to stop shooting now and get undetected. And I only got 27 seconds left on my smoke, so then I should be A-okay. So now I finally decide to use my repair. The Bismarck will be able to get his front guns out on me one more time before I go undetected, and they all miss. There we go, I'm now undetected. My torpedoes do unfortunately miss. There is a chance, though, that the Bismarck does have his hydroacoustic up and running. It's the same exact hydroacoustic that this thing has, so I'm guessing that's the reason why he was able to dodge them. So at this point, 2 seconds left on the smoke, I open fire yet again, and now I'm going to conceal myself just as his secondaries open up, and there we go, I go undetected. Had about 22 seconds left until the torpedoes come back. Take some more hits, but again, this thing is such a tank that I feel comfortable taking some hits every now and then. It's 772 to 69. The enemy team has not destroyed a single ship on ours, so there we go. Now I finally get a fire. I was about to say, RNG's been a little unkind to me in that department in this game. Only the second fire of the game, and now I'm getting ready to make a sprint out of the smoke as I drop my torpedoes here. Getting some more shots here at the enemy Bismarck. I actually then decided not to. However, it appears that he's going to burn down before my torpedoes even get there, so there we go. Now I decide to sprint out of the smoke because I know that he's going to die, set my third fire of the game, and before my torpedoes get there, I managed to pick up the kill on that Tier 8 German battleship and get up to just about 130,000 points of damage done. So a very awesome game with 4 kills and the Confederate. This right here showed about everything that this ship is good for. The high explosive shells and just the 150s in general. Even the armor piercing is very viable. The torpedoes are pretty good. The maneuverability not so much. The speed not so much. But those are things that you can, you got to be able to take advantage of. And this ship certainly is a very stellar destroyer in the game. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 457,000 credits received and 8,200 total XP earned. Confederate and a devastating strike on that Leander. 129,000 points of damage done. Off of 138 shell hits and 7 torpedoes, I sank 4 enemy ships. And of course, was able to get a couple fires and a few floodings from those weapons. Taking a look at the team score now, 2,209 base XP, a very solid total for a game that, well, didn't really last that long. And especially at the beginning, that was very awesome to show you just the pinnacle of usage that the hydroacoustic can give you. And yeah, those destroyers really had no chance whatsoever. Obviously, I had a nice cruiser in support behind me, and the friendly Akatsuki was able to get a kill. But yeah, I was certainly able to take advantage of that, and that's why this ship has just been so much fun to play. I did just get the Z-46, which I'm very excited to use, get that torpedo reload down even more, and actually have good 128mm guns. But yeah, the damage output in this was also pretty good as well. 46,000 with the main battery, 27,000 with floodings and fires, and 56,000 with the torpedoes. So very, very good stuff. For a game that lasted just over 10 minutes, that was certainly a very solid performance. So I hope this, guys, this review of the Z-23 shows you now how to get the most out of this, and I'm actually really excited to continue on with the German destroyers. And I know that that's a sentence that you probably don't hear very much or see on Reddit that often, or even in the forums. But yeah, I've really enjoyed the German destroyer Z-23. And again, I hope this review gives you guys a good idea on how to play it, and play it well. So with that being said, TheSneakySnake here for Brothers in Arms, World of Warships signing off. Please continue to like, comment, and possibly subscribe to our channel. All of it is very much appreciated, and have a fantastic day.